Red FM.
I think there was plenty of intensity to their play, Paul. I mean, they obviously had the game under their belt last week against Offaly, so that was a bit of an advantage compared to the Tipperary lads. But, despite the intensity, I think he'll have been disappointed maybe with the first touch and maybe the point scoring from his team. John Mulhall, who's kind of a novice to the grade, was probably the best forward on view. He got 3 great points from play, but I think he'd have been disappointed maybe with the likes of Aidan Fogarty and Richie Hogan. Richie in particular because, he's a young player. He showed glimpses of his brilliance last year. In the Ireland final, he got 2 sweet points from play. And I think this year he'd have looked at like Richie to step on and come up to the mark a little bit more. And I thought he was very disappointed today. So, overall, I suppose he'd have been pleased enough with the work rate and the effort. But certain players he'd have been disappointed with their overall contribution. And obviously knowing Cody, I suppose, and knowing the way he's prepared his teams last year, he'd be disappointed that they lost the game, I suppose, as well.
Yeah, do you think there are any major problems there for Kilkenny, or is it just a matter of Cody getting him back on the training ground and addressing a few small things?
Yeah, a little bit of addressing and some personnel changes. I mean, at the end of the day, he's still missing some of the biggest players in the game, let alone on the Kilkenny team. I mean, Shefflin and Brennan stick out a mile, and then TJ Reid and Chad Fitzpatrick. He's missing really some big name players, and I mean, you couldn't really criticise Owen Larkin the whole time because it's his first game back. He's loads of work to do yet. I mean, he'll be very happy that his half forward line completely blotted out the Tipperary half, or his half back line completely blotted out the Tipperary half forward line. In the end, Benny Dunn and John O'Brien were taken off, and it took Noel McGrath a long time to get into the game. That was largely down to the brilliance of Walsh, Jackie Turtle, and JJ Delaney. Tommy Walsh again in particular, who even chipped in with a massive point. So yeah, aspects of the play and the overall performance would have pleased him. And he knows that there's plenty of work to be done yet, and he knows that there's plenty of personnel still to come into his team.
Yeah, and when you're dealing with a team like Kilkenny who are used to winning games, they'll now want to return to action as soon as possible to make amends for today's defeat, and they'll have that chance next weekend when they come down here to play Cork. Looking at Kilkenny's performance today, Seanie, is this a game Cork can win, and if so, how do they go about doing it?
Well, I think it's very much, yes, a game that Cork can win. I think every time Cork play Kilkenny, to be honest, Paul, they have a chance of beating them. Just traditionally alone, both teams have such a rivalry there that, irrespective of the quality of team that's produced, just the whole rivalry means that it's going to be always a key contest. I think Cork have been nice and steady so far this year. They won again last night in a challenge game against Clare, and in most games they played this year, whether they've been challenge games or league games, they've been victorious. I mean, the first 2 league games so far, I think, were very promising. Okay, it was a depleted Limerick side last Saturday night, but still, he had great performances from Michael Cusson. Patrick Hogan played very well in the second half, and players like Niall McCarthy and Cian McCarthy were fine and competitive when they came on. They weren't just making up the numbers. Cian McCarthy in particular got a great goal. So, Cork has been nice and steady so far this year. I think Dennis Walsh learned a lot from last year. He learned a lot about particular players, and the Cusson experiment looks like it's working. I still wouldn't cast Isaki aside. I think he still has a low top for his 2 goals last year from Offaly alone, show that he has that goal scoring ability. And I think maybe in the half forward line, if they continue to persist, maybe with Mark O'Sullivan centre forward, he's going to step up to another type of intensity that he wouldn't have been used to the next day. He'll be up against one of the best players in the game, like Jackie Turtle, and let's see how he gets on. And that's the one area of the field that not just Cork, but most teams in general need to break, is that Kilkenny half back line. But I think on Sunday Cork have a great chance. It's all to play for. If they win, they're the only unbeaten team so far, along with Galway. And so far in the campaign, I think that could be your league final pairing, Galway and Cork. So hopefully we get a victory. I think they have every chance, and I'd be delighted if I was in this watch so far with the pro in there.
Yeah, Cork have had 2 wins out of 2 so far, Seanie, but they were probably against the 2 weakest teams in Division 1. A good win against Clare last night, as you said. Kilkenny have had 2 games now as well, Offaly and Tip. Would you be worried that the games against Offaly and Limerick for Cork, that maybe they weren't the best preparation for a match against a side like Kilkenny?
No, I think at this time of the year, what Dennis Walsh was looking for was performance. He was looking for a good attitude, high work rate, and players giving it their all. Now, you could say that the performance dipped a little bit against Limerick, but that was simply because the intensity of the play wasn't coming from Limerick, and the atmosphere on the night was so poor. But as I said earlier, I think the performance of particular players like Horgan and Michael Cusson would have been pleasing. The full back line are playing very well. Cadigan continues to impress. Probably disappointed that Paddy Cunningham is out with an injury so early, because he would have been an ideal replacement. And just mimicking the Kilkenny model, Cody seems to have a player or 2 players for every position, and I think Walsh is doing something similar. In the half forward line, as I said, Mark O'Sullivan has shown up well, and McCarthy has shown up well. And players like fringe players like Graham Canlan and Fenton O'Leary, I was surprised by the bit of criticism they got the left. I think they hurled away fine, and they did their best, and they competed, and they laid the ball off. And at times that's what you expect from a half forward line. They don't necessarily have to be chipping in with plenty of scores. They have to continue moving the ball inside and making life difficult for half backs. Fraggy Murphy has shown up well as well in the corner. He's showing a real captain's part at the moment. So, yeah, okay, the opposition wouldn't have been the strongest, but certainly the performances were good. and the effort was top class. I think that would have pleased Fianna Fáil, and I think Cork are in right position now. They've been nice and quiet, as I said. They haven't been shouting from the rafters, and I think they're going into the Kilkenny game in ideal preparation, to be honest.
Yeah, it's Kilkenny on Sunday, Seanie, but the bigger picture, I suppose, is Tipperary down the park at the end of May. What did you make of their performance today?
A bit of a mixed bag as well, you know. I mean, they're still dependent on Owen Kelly. I mean, in the first half, there was very like Linnet, and it was Kelly's goal that made a difference. It was an absolutely clinical finish, typical Kelly finish, and not too dissimilar to the goal against Cork in last year's championship down the park, on the 2008 game. You know, instinctively hitting it off over the shoulder, sort of, with his back to goal. It was a great finish. As I said earlier, he'll have been disappointed, Liam Sheedy, with the performances of maybe Benny Dunn and John O'Brien. I mean, Benny Dunn had a little bit of baggage maybe from last year's All-Ireland final. It was a small bit of a chance to redeem himself, but maybe it was a little bit unfair playing him centre-forward, because I've never remembered Benny Dunn playing around centre-forward position. He's always kind of a loose midfield player, but he just didn't show any effort at all today. You know, he couldn't handle Jackie Third. But I think Sheedy would have been delighted, you know, with his full-back line. I thought Pádraig Maher was just immense. Probably the best full-back in the game at the moment. Blotted out a number of players. Owen Larkin couldn't get a sniff off. Richie Hogan went in for a while, and he was just incredible. And Brendan Cummins continues to be a fantastic keeper. You know, he made a great save from Aidan Fogarty in the first half, at a time when that's exactly what Kilkenny needed to kickstart their game. And he was very brave, and he came out and blocked it, and Paul Curran came in and cleared the rebound very well. So, you know, I think Tipperary are nicely progressing as well. I really think, even though Dublin are making great progress, I think that was a bit of kind of a freak result last week in Parnell Park. Parnell Park is a very difficult place to go to get a result, particularly early in the year, cold and a heavy pitch, cold conditions, and you know, I don't think if that was a summertime game, championship game, that I think the result would have been reversed. I think it would have been Tip beating Dublin. So I think Sheedy will be delighted by today, and I think he'll kick on from here now. You know, there's a little bit of a scuffle on the line, which will just get the charges, you know, fine and riled up now for the next couple of games, and you know, all going well. If Tip continue to win and Cork continue to win, it could be a right crunch game. Come Cork and Tipperary's league meeting later on in the year. Yeah,
before I let you go, Seanie, if I was to put you on the spot, what's your prediction for Cork and Kilkenny on Sunday?
Oh, I think it'll be a Cork victory, to be honest. I think that, you know, Kilkenny still won't have the Ballyhale Shamrock lads back, TJ and Henry Shefflin. Eddie Brennan might make a return, but I just think Cork are just motoring very, very well at the moment. Players are in form, you know, the older type players, if you want to call them that, you know, the Sean Oakes, John Gardner, Kenny, they seem to be revitalised a little bit, you know. The performances, particularly like the Gardner's, been very, very well. Freeze are top class, you know. He's getting some great long range scores, and you know, they're beating and they're going for a league. I think they should go to win the league this year. They look like a team that are on a bit of a mission, and I think it'll be Cork's victory next Sunday. Just very, very finally, Seanie, I know you're working hard with the Cork minors as a selector there. How are things going on that front? Oh, very good. I mean, we more or less have our panel picked. I mean, it was difficult in January and February because of this winter ban, you know, the burnout ban, and it was very difficult to assemble a panel, but we're thereabouts. Coincidentally, we're playing Tip as well in our first game on the 28th of April, and that's what our focus is. We've 6 or 7 weeks to prepare, and you know, we're back training next week, and it's all systems go. So far, so good.
Red FM.